Okay, the whole darn thing. It's 1:00. It absolutely would be. I'm gonna have to control the author here. Okay, everybody, can you hear me all the way in the back? Awesome. Excellent. All right, we're starting back up again for our contemporary discussion, book discussion. I'm going to hand it over to Barbara Wallace, who's going to be our moderator. And I welcome you back. I hope you all had a nice lunch and don't fall asleep because you'll miss stuff. Oh,
I'm taking a selfie.
oh, smart. Oh, okay.
I'm like, what about smiling at? We're like really being we're clinching. So.
Oh yeah.
All right, so I had to do some quick editing because Evelyn has such great questions, but I don't want to read the questions to these guys, so I kind of varied it up a little bit. But why don't we start letting you guys introduce yourself? Just could you briefly tell us a little bit about how your book, or who you are, and how you came to writing romance? Because you all came from very different backgrounds. So I'll start with Tara.
Yeah, I'll start. My name is Tara Chai. I wrote the contemporary rom-com single player, which is about two Chaos Gremlin game devs. And how did I come to writing romance? I kind of fell into it by mistake. I read a lot of literary fiction. I read a lot of nonfiction. I'm extremely pretentious like that. And during the pandemic, I was like, nah, this is not it. So I started reading a lot of romance during the pandemic, and I was like, this is fun. This seems like it might be fun to write. And yeah, that's how Single Player came about.
Well, I want to read that. I am Briss, and I feel like mine was kind of an accident too. I was writing YA fantasy or like magical realism, and then I randomly like went through a real life romance kind of situation, and I wanted to just like write about it, and I wrote about it, and like I tucked that book away, and then a year later I was like, hey, let me just hand it over to my agent and see what she thinks about it. I didn't think anything of it. I never thought it was gonna be anything. And she read it and she was just like, oh yeah, we're gonna go on sub with this. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm a romance writer now. So
Hi, I'm Jenny. I write plus size adult and YA romances. I spent 10 years trying to break into YA and had no luck and was ready to quit because I already have a full-time job as a professor. And then I had this idea of a romance set in grad school that seemed like it might be a fun place to set a story, and decided to write it, and that became the makeup test. And somehow I wrote that at the same time as Allie was writing the Love Hypothesis. And yeah, so I was like Chris, started out in YA. Now I'm going back to YA with my book that comes out this summer.
I'm Tara Elroy, and I was all kinds of writer things. Before I started writing romance, I wrote movies that didn't sell. And then I was a journalist for a while, mostly covering environmental issues. And then I had characters who I had written into a movie who wouldn't, they just started talking to me like many years later, like, you need to write our story as a novel. And because they wouldn't shut up, I finally did that. And it was not technically a romance, it was romance adjacent, set during the Vietnam War era. But at the same time, I was also writing a nonfiction book about climate change for farmers, and based on my work as a journalist. And so I was like publishing the first book and at this writing residency thinking like, what am I gonna do now? And then I thought, well, I'm gonna combine these two obsessions because I love stories and I am passionate about the environment. So I started writing romance novels with environmental themes, and the first one was For the Birds. It was actually the novelization of a screenplay that I wrote. So very much based on You've Got Mail in terms of like the tropes and the structure. And then Haven, the first book in the Love and Disaster trilogy, was based like thoroughly on my journalistic work. It even includes like direct quotes from the last person I interviewed when I was covering agriculture. So yeah. They're fictionalized, but.
So do you all have day jobs, just okay,
I'm a
Chris?
full-time mother.
oh, you are full-time off, okay. Lucky you.
It's
actually your dream.
I'm like, I hope I can keep on doing it. I don't know, in this economy, in this publishing industry, I'm not sure, but we'll see.
Alright, so the theme today is bucking the trends. That's what it's, you know, you guys are all trend setters or whatever. I would argue that you're not, because all your books are very familiar tropes. Their characters are different, but that's representation, and I would argue that representation is not the same as a trend. It's simply representation. So I guess but I am gonna ask you, do you consider yourselves a trend bucker? That's not dirty, but. But do you guys see yourselves as trend buckers, or do you just see yourselves just increasing representation as well?
I mean, not to be obnoxious, but I do. I mean, other authors include occasional things related to romance, or they'll talk about a character recycling or something. But I heavily research my books. Everything I write has an environmental theme. It either features an environmental scientist or features characters going through an environmental disaster, or features characters working on solutions. And that is my thing. It's steamy romance in a heating world.
Nice.
Upstairs.
I mean, I feel, when you're done.
I'm done.
All right. I feel like as much as, yes, representation should not be a trend or a trope, which I love when it ends up in a trope list, like, look, there's fat people in this book, it's a trope, right? But I do think if you think about trends as being the things that are popular, at breaking those trends by saying, yes, a person who has a larger body, who doesn't necessarily conform to idealizations of current impossible beauty standards, getting a happily ever after where they never change their body is bucking a trend, right? Because those are not stories that we saw for, I mean, I was probably in my mid-20s before I ever saw a story in pop culture where someone who looked like me wasn't the funny best friend or the village dummy that everybody laughed at, right? And before they ever got a story that wasn't about shrinking their body to make them someone that could be loved, but someone that could be loved for exactly who they were. And to me, that is absolutely bucking a trend.
I guess it's because I look at it as a trend is something that comes and goes.
Right.
Whereas we're gonna hope that the characters that are in your books, in all the books, aren't gonna go away. They're gonna continue. It's not gonna be like, okay, you know what, overweight characters are no longer a thing.
Well, that's what's happening now. But yeah, I mean, we live in a world of Ozempic.
Yeah.
So the general population is saying no one should be fat anymore. So why do we need stories about fat people? Just let them take pills to look like everybody else.
Yeah.
And so it's actually, body inclusivity has been a trend, right? And we had Dove commercials, and Ann Taylor Loft had a plus size line for 5 seconds, and Old Navy had all sizes in stores, and then all of a sudden that was over because now there's a magic pill, right? And so I do think that like body positivity was treated like a trend, though it shouldn't be.
Okay. Do you guys think of yourselves as dress?
No, I think like, I mean, I can like kind of like jump in a little bit on what Jenny's saying, where I Love Like the Sun, my romance novel, like features a chronically ill main character, and like we don't see chronically ill main characters many times being loved in fiction, and like it just, I don't know. So like, but I also understand what you're saying. Like I don't want, like I hope that like being like being an author who's doing this and like wants to continue doing this, because my second book features, like the first book has like chronic kidney disease, and the second book has like endometriosis, and like just like hoping that like, I don't know, just I'm not the only one writing it though, right? Like Katie Ryan writes it, and like, so I just like, I don't know. I don't know exactly how to answer this question besides just, yeah.
I don't even know.
That's I'm gonna leave it right there.
It's a stumper. I mean, like, I think about like the iPhone, right? How many people have iPhones? Okay, iPhone marketing campaign was all about like, make yourself unique. And then they released this line of colors.
Yeah.
So you were unique in your color choice. And that's how I think about trends, right? Like trends are like, oh, I want to wear the same like bucket hat as everyone else, or I want to wear the same low-rise flare jeans. Remember that in the 90s? That was terrible.
No.
But I have a rip over here. And like I feel like my book is a little bit like that. And you know, like you follow a lot of the same tropes. You have a happily ever after, you have close proximity, you have like, and like, yes, you also have representation, but that's what makes my book different. It has a non-binary Asian character. You've never seen something like this before, so it's special. You know, it's I'm not comparing my book to an iPhone. I think that's why it's such a difficult question to answer, because what constitutes a trend, and what constitutes pushing that envelope.
Well, I guess that's a good point to. And well, staying on that, since you are all youngins and
Bless your heart.
And do you guys have your finger on the pulse of the zeitgeist and all that stuff? What would you see are trends then? And the other thing we were talking about earlier, Tara and I were talking about. Someone had mentioned earlier that historical romance can bring up uncomfortable subjects that contemporary can't. And we were wondering, do you think? Shy away from
Maybe struggles with.
Or it feels way too heavy.
Put it I apologize, but I thought that was a great question, because I'm wondering if, given in this era, do you think contemporary writing now has a chance to do some societal change? And do you see that as something that's going to be coming down the pike with romance writing?
I mean, I feel like it's already doing that in some ways, because so much of Professor Jenny's coming up. So much of popular culture dictates who gets a love story, right? Like what that love story gets to look like. And contemporary romance is at least trying to change that narrative, so it's not skinny, straight white people, right? And then the tall man with all the abs that go to his knees, right? And like, so well endowed, how he's not falling over, we don't understand, right? And so like we're seeing movements to broaden definitions of who gets a love story and who gets a happily ever after, and I think that is a huge step towards sort of normalizing communities that have been marginalized.
And not only that, you know, you see in the work of Lyssa Kay Adams, in the work of Nikki Payne.
I was gonna say Nikki Payne.
Yeah, you know, not just representation and changing with those narratives, but also, you know, dealing with real issues. I'm writing an article, I just got an interview with Nikki and Melissa and a few other awesome authors, Angelina Lopez. So, you know, you see like really dealing with not only representation, but for example, land rights, land ownership, sovereignty, you know, what it is like to, you know, have multiple degrees, but still need to live with your mother because, you know, the gentrification is making home prices impossible. And, you know, but, oh yeah, wow, in the middle of that, you can still fall in love, or, you know, oh, when in the middle of, you know, an environmental disaster that's affecting you more than other people because you don't have the money to live in this fancy neighborhood and you can't replace your car every time there's a flood. And, you know, it's like, these are the things that are coming up. You know, Lyssa is dealing with like sex trafficking and you know, extreme toxic masculinity, you know, narcissistic abuse in families, immigration rights. These are the issues that are coming up in romance and that I hope we'll see more of, you know, more romance authors dealing with real things that we hear about in the news, but when you hear about them in the news, it's like unbearable. But when you read it in a romance novel and you know there's a happy ending, you can get through that story and develop the empathy and the compassion for the people who are experiencing whatever hell they're in, because you know at least it's going to turn out all right for them, as we wish that it would for people in real life. Oh, I got snaps.
Chris and Tara, do you have anything you want to add? Or you think you're just gonna?
No, I can't follow that.
Being old, when I first started writing, political things were not. It was very clear in almost every guideline, do not give us a political storyline, do not give us an environmentalist, do not give us somebody who's gonna be lecturing, it was, yeah. So it's very interesting that they are pushing it, and yeah, I think this is a moment for contemporary romance, especially mainstream contemporary romance, as opposed to category, which is that you have a chance to really bring in issues that we're not covering before. So, all right, I promise I won't ask you more super philosophical questions. We'll go something easy. Does anyone have questions first?
It's sort of a question that thinking along the lines of trends, looking for characters that are older than their 20s, you know, it's like you know, having whether it's their first love, second love, whatever it is, you know, is that something you've seen more of that you would ever write yourself?
So I recently wanted to, I mean, I am 37. Look, I had to remember.
No,
Yeah.
I do not,
I thought you were 32.
37. Like my 2 teens are upstairs. Those are your children. I mean, what a compliment. Thank you. I'm just like my mom still is really young, so I'm like, I hope I follow it. But yeah, it's so crazy because when you're in traditional publishing, like sometimes like we really, I don't know, I tried to write a character that was like around my age, and what I heard was we like them a little younger, like we like them in their 20s, we like them and it's just like, I'm just kind of like, ugh, I want to write characters with kids and like, you know what I mean, like grueling jobs and like, you know, like I want to do that. I do think that we're seeing it because of Kennedy Ryan. I think like some of the mainstreams, like we're seeing it with some of them, like, you know, Tia and Kennedy and but like we're just not seeing enough of it yet.
This is
I'm
one
hoping.
reason I'm in indie.
Yeah.
I'm in indie because my characters are in their 40s.
Nice.
I have one heroine, well, in For the Birds, they're in their 30s, but then with the Love and Disaster trilogy, everyone's in their 40s except for Amira, who's the heroine of book 2. She's in her 30s, but she's a single mom. And now the book that I'm publishing in November, Josephine is like 43 and Theo is about to turn 50. So you know what, like, I mean, it's funny because the book I'm publishing in November is actually my MFA thesis, and early days of that in a crit group with, you know, a number of younger colleague students. One of them, who's younger than my daughter, was like, you know, people in their 40s, they don't really have sex. You have so much to look forward to. But yeah, so I'm writing those books.
The books I'm working on and have out on sub are like early 30s and then mid 30s. So hopefully.
But the problem is you're dealing with gatekeepers.
Yeah.
And this is partly why I went indie, because I did try. I thought, you know, I'm having my MFA now, I'll have a better chance at getting the support of traditional publishing houses and all that comes with. But nothing against 20-somethings, I love them, my daughter is one, but like the 20-something agent assistants can't relate.
Yeah. I think like I don't know, I love to like in Love Like the Sun, I think they're like 25-ish, and I love that age range too because I love to write YA in general, so I love like all age ranges, but it feels so like sad that it feels like there's a cutoff. It's like definitely don't cross the 35, right? Like, really, oh my god, 35, that's crazy. And you're just like, and I'm just sitting here like, but I'm like writing it, and I'm older than that, so I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like RomCon, you know, Candy Ryan or Tia, they're more squarely romance. RomCon, we're at RomCon. RomCon, I feel like relies a lot on coming of age, the protagonist discovering themselves, you know, discovering their self-worth, and I think a lot of that does happen in your 20s.
Yeah.
And I also think the comedy comes from a lot of wacky hijinks, and there's this expectation that someone in their, I'm also nearly 40, someone in their like late 30s, 40s has kind of got it figured out, or at least they figured out how to do it.
Somebody let me know, cause I'm 45 and I'm not there yet.
Right, but you're not gonna be like, hopefully, you're not gonna be stumbling to a wedding and then like crashing into the champagne glass tower and then like, you know, pulling the pants down.
That's only because everybody I know is getting divorced now. I think I'm married 10 years ago.
Well, that's the kind of like stuff that rom-coms like feed off of.
Right.
Which is like very easy to shoehorn a 20-year-old.
Right.
That's.
I will say, Abby Jimenez writes old, like, I'm reading part of Your World right now, and she's 38, and dating or having a good time with a 28-year-old.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there are a few people out there, but I do think you're right that like, I also think too, I don't know if this happened to people, but I hit 30 and I was like, I care less about what people think. I hit 40 and I just gave the middle finger to everybody. And so much of rom-com depends on embarrassment, right? And I just don't get embarrassed anymore.
This communication,
Right.
just talk.
Right, exactly.
Do you find it harder and harder as you get older to write the younger characters? Or do you still feel
I
like? you
teach
put yourself-
college students.
Oh, you're okay.
Yes, I have 100 kids
At
every
some point to feel like these are my kids' age,
Right.
and now I'm writing sex scenes with my kids.
So.
That's they're in my head. I'm thinking about my 30-year-old
That's why you
son.
don't have kids, and then you don't have to talk.
Amen to that, yes.
Does anyone else have any questions? Yeah. Oh, did you say yeah? Oh, sorry.
Like the thing.
Oh.
Consent is.
Is there anything else that you guys do that get like
Did everyone hear the question about it? She wants to know if there's anything they get pushback from, regular pushback from.
I think like in romance specifically right now, like at least, I mean, my editor specifically likes it, but I write a lot of, I feel like my romance skews like more heavily women's fiction, you know what I mean? So I think like it's a lot of like world building, character, like place and stuff like that. And I think in publishing in general, there's pushback on that. Like I'll just get like reviews that are just like, we don't care about the world, like this is boring, like we don't care about the other characters, like what does other humans matter? Like I just want to see like the romance on the page. So I think there's like sometimes there's a lot of pushback I noticed in that department where it's like you just like want the love interest to be together the entire book and like that's it, which I so get. But I don't know, I'm like as a certain writer that I am and reader, like I like to like feel like I'm completely invested in that world, and it feels a little unrealistic that the characters would just be like 300 pages of just those two characters together, and
Well, you fill a lot of it with sex.
yeah, which you can fill a lot with sex, and then it's like I don't know, in my opinion, maybe this is just me, but even sex, it just starts getting boring to me to write. Like, right? Like I'm just kind of like, okay.
Well, we saw there's only 7 ways to describe a penis.
Yeah.
Story has an arc. Suppose that the characters go through a thing, they change.
And it's like there's a change and stuff like that, and I do feel like there's some pushback on that, and I think like some of it like these days at least it's because like the quick, like everyone just wants to read quick and read, and there's a lot of like read spice, read quick, read easy, get through your books and don't, you know what I mean? Like, but I don't know. Yeah. So it's just like kind of like a lot of like, oh, like cut this entire character. And it's like, oh damn, like if I cut that grandma, like they don't have any family in the book. Like, I don't know. So yeah, that.
I have found that publishing, I don't know if this is specific to romance because I haven't written in other topics. So maybe just romance publishing is allergic to complicated, morally gray protagonists, which is different from unlikable protagonists, right? And just to reference my book, originally my character was emotionally cheating for part of the book, not physically cheating, but she was like dating someone and like not really into it, but not willing to let go of that relationship yet, which I think is very human. I think a lot of people are in that position. And my publisher was basically, this is romance, like people read this to escape, like you have to cut this. And I'm like, but this is realistic.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, that doesn't mean this character doesn't deserve a happily ever after, as long as they grow as a person and, you know, sort of become a better person at the end of the book, not a perfect person. But I do find that they're a little allergic to that.
No, I agree.
100%.
Yeah.
It's a big one.
I've had, so in Hope, the third book in my 11 Disaster trilogy, it's a second chance after infidelity. And, you know, and it's a one night thing, but, you know, she's done with him. And a lot of people, like when I was, you know, just kind of outlining that book, I had a lot of people say like, this isn't gonna sell, nobody wants to read infidelity, and even if it's not on the page, and that's like, I know, but I wanna read it, because I've been through this, and I've been in a relationship where I tried to fix it, you know, make it work with the person, even after being cheated on. And what helped me get through was reading the 2 books that I was able to find, which I'm not gonna name them because they were so poorly written. But I, you know, that helped me get through. It was like, these people did this, and oh, look, they had this very similar physical reaction that I had. Like, that's kind of weird, but validating. So I was like, I have to write this book because there's at least one other person out there who needs it.
Yes. And can I just say one thing? So I'll say the thing, but I don't know. I like grew up on like Eric Jerome Dickey books and stuff. So like as a reader that used to read like super morally gray characters and everything, like it feels like now I think, and I don't know if this is like cancel culture exactly or what it is, but it just feels like characters have to be like so perfect, like you know, even
They recycle.
yeah, even the whole like thought of like, and I understand it. Hey, don't hate me if everyone's over here like, ah. But like so many people hate the third act breakup. That's something that like is a huge pushback now. And I'm just kind of like, then the book is gonna be, what is the book? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what is the art? Like, what is the tension? Like, what happens in the book? So then when the characters get together, in my opinion, the book should just end then.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it'll probably be, instead of a 300-page book, maybe a 200 or 150-page book or whatever.
It's
You know,
like
or
the
novella.
Care Bears version of romance.
Yeah, it feels like everybody is so like, oh my god, like absolutely no, like third act breakup, absolutely no this, no morally great characters, no, and I'm just kind of like, but I get the escapism part, like I so get that, but I do think like, I don't know, I do think like, so what is the story then? Like I just wonder what the actual story is, if you don't want us to do this, then what happens, like exactly in the story? I did end up writing, like my newest book does not have a third act breakup, it has third act tension. And I feel like I struggled a little bit, right? And like, I wonder how it's gonna be received. Let's see if it's received better than my first. But I do think like the first was just a natural, like, that's what you would do, right? In real life, you're gonna push somebody away because of X, Y, and Z, and then hopefully you get back together. And then getting back together to me is like the, like that's the part, right? Like they made it through, they got it back together, they got back together. And I think that kind of is like similar to what you're saying, where it's like, why do they have to be so, like why does everything have to be so perfect? And I do get it, but I do think like there should be an array of stories, like go for the perfect one then. But dissing the non-perfect one makes like, I think it makes like some of our jobs a little harder, because then publishers push back on us, right? Where they're like, they don't want to hear this, they don't want a third act breakup, and you're like, okay, so how are we gonna solve this whole story then? What's my third act? Like, what's my entire third act? It's gone then. Like, what do you suggest I do? I just have them in the room having sex for 100 pages. Like, I don't know. I mean, I could do that, but it just feels boring.
You cut the grandma.
I mean, I found too, like, the thing that my editor would always be coming back at me in my adult books for is like the love interests particularly had to be perfect, right?
Yeah.
So like in the makeup test, I don't want to spoil things in case people haven't read it, but it's a second chance romance. And Colin does something that to make the main character think he has done what he did again to her the first time. And my editor kept making me change what he did until it was so soft it was almost nothing, right? And it just like, I finally just was like, fine, right? Because they're like, she just kept saying, readers are not going to let him come back from this. Readers are not going to let him come back from this. And then at the end, Like, I just was like, well, now she's just mad about something that feels like nothing. And then you get, right,
Your hero look like.
right, and then you get the people who don't like a third act breakup because it seems like it's fixed, it's like forced in there. Or it's just a little bit of miscommunication. If they talked once, it would just get fixed. And it's like, well, that's all you get if people can't be complicated.
Yeah.
Is it has to be miscommunication.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I feel like the best third act breakups is because it comes from the character
Right.
not ready to change yet, and he or she is holding back and coming up with some reason why it can't work.
And you're pissed at both of them and just need
And
them
I
to
will
work it
confess
out.
that I think a lot of times it's easy to fall into the plot device of something happened and I'm just not gonna tell you.
Right.
Yeah.
So that, I think that might be why people start complicating, but like you said, your breakup's because she is doing a natural reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, oh, I just got bad news and I don't wanna,
Yes.
and I think that those are the ones that do work, but.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes.
How about you guys? Is third act breakup okay, or yes, no? I think it's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't do a kidnapping in the contemporary, so.
It's not like it's not like common, yeah, like where something, you have like another, like the kidnapping in the RomCon, like.
Well, actually. We came rapping.
Oh, I know someone had a question, but I think she stepped out. Are there any other questions? Yeah.
Sorry, I do wanna just briefly clarify that I really don't think that, contemporary can't do, but.
Oh, no, that was me just speaking, so I.
No, but just is, my question is coming out of the fact that I've read several, queer contemporaries this year that I was like, this is like a marshmallow, and it's great, and I love it, I love this for you, but also, this is not at all my experience, and I guess, so, to turn that question around, like, what do you see in contemporary that draws you to contemporary, like above all other genres, or sometimes above all subgenres, like, what do you see happening in contemporary that you're like, this is amazing, I don't see any other subgenres doing this?
Well, I'm sorry to again talk about my own work, but I mean, I'm addressing climate change, like, you know, so like this is, it's a pretty contemporary issue. So, you know, I couldn't, and I thought a lot about like, oh, it would be fun to, you know, address environmental issues in the 1800s or whatever, and but this is when we have the science that measures things. This is when we have the technology that is sometimes trying to fix things, often failing, often making things worse. This is when, you know, we have the 100+ years of industrialization that has put us in this situation. So it has to be contemporary if I want to write these themes. So that's a contemporary thing for sure. That's, you know, when you get into some of the issues, you know, that Lissa K. Adams touches on, you know, immigration is, you know, it's a huge theme now. Yeah, those are, I mean, lots of the issues that she touches on, sex trafficking, not that it didn't exist before, but it wasn't like as known.
Your comment too, which I thought was great in the last panel.
Yeah, I thought it was.
No, I took it as like, cause I feel like publishing's always a little behind, right? And so it took so long to get queer stories that there was a need for queer joy. Because the only kind of stories we were seeing was the pain of coming out, of not being accepted. And so we are in the queer joy moment, but that is not the moment people living in the world are in, right? And I think that's what I took your comment to mean is like, I think trying to write a romance in right now is going to be a painful romance in some ways, or finding it's going to be like, even if it's happy for these people, it is happy while dealing with all of these horrible outside forces, right? So that is what I took from your question. If that helped you feel like you were not misunderstood.
Like I see a ton of contemporary authors who are really doing that same work. It's just that they're in the minority.
Absolutely.
In a way, that is what I am seeing.
No, and it's true, right? I mean, I do think that the thing, and this echoes what Tara was saying, the thing that contemporary can do is echo the moment, right? And really ask people to look in a mirror to like, what does the world look like right now?
That's right, and but from the perspective mostly of women.
Right.
And through the lens of the woman writer as well, mostly, not 100%, but 83% still. And also, in terms of like the couples that couldn't be shown in the past, or that you could write into a historical novel, but the conflicts would have been different. So now you can show an interracial romance, and it's legal, but if you had written that prior to 1960 something or other in the United States, it would have been illegal. So you could still write the historical interracial romance, but then the conflicts would have been different because there would have been a whole issue around legality of it.
100% look at Bridgerton. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but Bridgerton is in the UK.
Yeah.
In America, it was illegal until 1960
Yeah,
something.
but no,
Love Trump.
I was just saying about like Julia Quinn's books,
Yeah.
like how they're not,
Yeah, right, they're
Yeah.
not necessarily,
Yeah.
but also it was, Queen, whatever, was actually African. Queen Charlotte was actually African. Yeah.
Not in the books.
Not in the book.
That's what I'm saying, like the difference is like
Like a Shonda
yeah.
Rhimes.
Sorry, I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's
show.
But
Canon.
yeah.
Clearly, I have not read Julia Quinn's books. Don't tell her.
Doing okay.
Yeah.
I think a lot like as romance readers, we know we're in for the happy ending. That's why we go for the genre of all the many subgenres and whatever flavor of that you want, like we sign on for that. And I think that romance readers, we are some of the most empathetic because we're looking for those stories and we want love for all. I see like sometimes when you're trying to push those not white cis het type relationships of any kind and have that representation, and you're trying to market that, I like everything is bite size. You're trying to get it into the tiny trope for the Instagram reel or the quick flavor of you want to get it out there and you want to explain why yours is great and not just have it be tropey. Can you talk a little bit about how do you put yours to be unique out there and make that clear? And what does that mean for you?
I lie down on the floor and cry.
Yeah.
Social media. It's so hard, right? Because marketing budgets for books vary greatly in the world of traditional publishing. And so most of us have to do our own marketing too. And I am always in awe of indie authors and the amount of marketing that you all do, because the little I have to do makes me want to lie down on the floor and never get up. Selling myself is like the thing I'm the least good at. But I just try to think about when I'm marketing my books, what makes it a book only I could write, right? So my books, you will always see animals named after food. That is something that comes up in everything I write, or like, I have a particular way of coming at the lived experience of being fat that I think is different from other writers, and I just try to think about it that way, but it's hard out there.
Yeah, it's like really difficult. Like I think one of the things that I have been trying to thing is just trying to find like that niche audience, because I think that there's like one of the things that my book has, I love like the Sun has is medical negligence. Like so a lot of us women, it's not just like women of color, just like women in general, like are told that we have anxiety when really there's something wrong with us, right? Like, we probably have anxiety too. But like it's not just that sometimes, and yeah. So I try to I suck at marketing, so I should be doing more of this. But the way I look at my books and the way I talk about my books is like, hey, like if you experience this and or if someone that has experienced this, I try to do something different, because I do feel like the mainstream is not going to look at my books the same way. You know what I mean? Like they're not gonna get pushed the same way. We're not gonna be as we're spine out versus face out in bookstores a lot of times. It's not, you're not gonna see us on the big list all the time. You know what I mean? Like marginalized folk and marginalized authors. So I Yeah, so I try to like find those niche audiences, and I suck at marketing myself. But yeah, it's a struggle.
I'm gonna like kind of anti-answer your question. I think I come from a corporate business background, which is terrible. I think about the ROI of everything I do, right? It takes me 15-30 minutes to put together a gorgeous Canva post, Canva Pro, no AI generated images, which you gotta be careful for, because you're gonna get canceled online if you accidentally put one in your graphic. And then I'm like, I spent 30 minutes doing this. I could be writing another book. I could be playing video games. I could be getting coffee with a friend, or I could post this thing, get 60 likes, get that little shot of like endorphins, and probably have that convert to 0 sales.
Exactly.
So like for me, I'm like, this is not in my core. I'm a creative, right? Like I know my publisher expects me to do a bare minimum, and I will do that bare minimum plus 10% because I'm a people pleaser. And that's it, right? Like everything else is not in my core, and I already know everything I do is going to convert to like, 0.01% of sales if I'm like very lucky.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's like a mindset shift of like, I do what I can, and then everything else is in your guys' hands. You guys find the books you want to read, and if you like mine, great. If you don't, that's fine. Put it down, pick up one of these other lovely people's books, right? Like there's a lot of books out there, and if my stories don't reach everyone, like that's fine. It'll reach someone, and that should be good enough.
Yeah, I'm pretty much of the same mindset. I mean, I haven't always been like, there was a period where I was like, oh, I'm gonna do all the social media, and then I was like, wait a minute, what's my ROI on this? And I realized it was like, in terms of book sales, it's 0. And then actually that wasn't because I was failing, it's because it's 0 for everyone. Like people don't sell books off social media. So then I was like, okay, well, why should I continue this? Okay, because I can connect with readers, because I can connect with other romance authors who are far away, some of whom I'm, friends with, but just don't get to see. And so that changed the game for me. And then like, there was a period like a year and a half ago where I just got into making these ridiculous videos. And I only made like 4 of them, but they were really fun. They were like literally ridiculous. And in one of them, I am both my real self and my author, my Tara persona, right? And so you see like the 2 people who are both me in this video talking to each other. And yes, it was a marketing video, but I had so much fun making it. And it just, so I started doing like things like that, and it was great for those 4 videos. And then I was like, I don't really have, I'm done with that. And maybe I'll do them again. I don't know, it doesn't matter. So it's probably not do enough marketing, but it does change things when you consider like what the return is. And as Tara said, like it's really up to you guys. Like find the books that you like, read them, and then talk about them, and buy them as gifts or tell other people. Because we can only do so much, and really, to get that new random follower is rare.
Yeah.
And so, which is why it makes sense that we don't sell books off of these. Right, because we're not really getting new random followers, we're getting people we know and their friends.
Yeah. I think like the hard part about that, I just have to add though, the hard part about that is that 1 or 2 of them do slide in there though. I will say one of my friends right now, and because she's our agents, is like doing big with her videos, and like found a hook that she's been hitting for the past year, and like her videos blew up and like went crazy viral. Brittany. Yeah, and like now has like a special edition for her first book. Like it's like you see the difference, right? Like, and that's because of her, right? So like, and she is she's a marginalized author. She's a Black author writing fantasy, and like it's so you see it. So sometimes when you see it, like my brain is like, they're doing it, I can do it. And then my brain's like, no, you can't.
Had to put up with so much crap from people on the internet.
Yeah, I mean,
right? Like, if you are marginalized at all on the internet, the bots and the others come for you. And she, like, to build that audience, she had to dig through some stuff.
I know, and she just kept going. But it's also like, I do think it's like the certain book the certain hook,
Right,
the
yeah.
certain, like it's a certain, like you can't do that with every single book, right? Like you just can't, and like some books
It's
go
magic in
viral.
a bottle.
Absolutely.
It's magic in a bottle, sometimes you got it, like, and sometimes you don't, so
And
I
that
feel
book
like,
is like perfect for it.
yeah, exactly.
It's like seeing your friends run marathons and you're like, yeah, I should do that.
As Horace mentioned it, we will bring it up and then we'll do a fun lightning round. The last AI.
I was gonna say, I'm not running a marathon.
Either. We'll both watch and have hair.
Absolutely, yes.
No, but AI, a lot of times now we're hearing authors using it for blurbs, especially in the indie world, you can do blurbs, you're doing cover helpers. Thoughts on AI? Have you ever used it, like when you were stuck on writer's block? I mean, I know people who confess to doing that.
I've read too many student papers generated by AI to ever use it to write anything in my life.
Fair answer.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like, why would I even bother to write that? Like, to me, the writing is the joy. I do know these writers. I go to a daily write-in, and there are those people who complain about the writing, and I'm like, then why are you here? Like, you could go take a walk or fuck your boyfriend or whatever you're saying. Sorry,
While taking a walk.
But not against the tree.
No,
Only the tree is on the beach. Next to the barn. But you get the horse just running.
in case you need to get on horseback.
You're describing a cover, like
I'm sorry, I derailed you entirely. Why are you writing if you hate writing?
Oh, why are you writing? You don't hate writing, and so then why use AI?
I do have friends that are like, they swear by it for their blurbs, and I'm not gonna knock, I'm just like, okay, why would you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah, the book, like,
You're
that
not
is
training
wild.
the AI with
That
the
is,
book.
that is wild, like, you know, like, I know people that use it for certain instances, like blurbing and blah, 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 and they're just like, I just can't get it perfect, I just can't, like, it doesn't sound good, and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna, like, what am I gonna do? I'm not gonna be like, you should be ashamed of yourself, like, like, it is what it is, but I think, like, when it crosses over to, like, you're using it to do your writing, it's like, and I don't know, like, I don't know if you've seen, but I've been laughing at like the Silver Elite, like this course that is like, this is, I swear this is AI, like this is the first they tried it, like, because they don't know who the author is. And I'm just like, I don't know, like how, I don't know. Yeah, I don't use it, but.
I wonder too if some people using it comes from the pressure of producing fast, right? Like there's,
Yeah, I get that too.
like traditional publishing is very hurry up and then do nothing forever.
Yeah.
But in indie publishing, you like, people are expecting books, right?
Yeah.
And I can see the pressure of that making some people go, ooh, well, I hate drafting. So I'll just let it draft for me and then I'll revise it, right? But that is, my stories are mine.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to be the one that tells them.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I've never even seen anyone try this thing, so I don't even know how the heck that would look,
A
but.
lot of people use it for like promotional creative, like artwork, but I'm like, if you're not willing to pay an artist, why would I pay for your book, which is a form of creativity.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're creative too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's the saddest part, is just that AI, you know, we know what the saddest part is, but, yeah, I've never.
I will admit, okay, for 2 covers, I used AI to help, not to do the whole thing. It was my concept. I don't have the money to pay an artist, sorry. You know what I mean? Buy a bunch of my books, maybe I will, but I don't. So I used AI to help generate the concepts that I could not draw and could not pay someone else to do. And AI is terrible in a lot of ways. And at the time I did not, this is like early days of AI generated imagery. So I didn't know that it was stealing things. And I don't think it stole anything in the basic generation, but I don't know. but also the images were not exactly what I needed. So I then had my daughter, who's a whiz at Photoshop, play with these images to get them to be what I wanted. So there is some AI assistance in the covers. And once I realized that AI is like as, thefty as it is, I know there's a real word, but I can't think of it. I like thinking thefty. Then I decided not to ever use it again. So I have not used it since. But yeah, there was, and then I think part of it is, it's like what we were talking about over lunch, like, Vellum, people thought that Vellum was AI because it said created by Vellum, when really it's a design, there's no AI in it. But, so it, not everyone initially realized what AI was, and I was part of that, not everyone were. Now I am more informed.
Here's the thing, I'm gonna get on a soapbox. I work in tech, I work at Google. Sorry, please bill so I can. Generative AI, like, I don't buy this conscientious capitalism, consumerism argument, right? Like, if you ever shop at Amazon, Target, Google, Apple, there is no conscientious capitalism. So that's not, if that argument works for you, great, but that argument doesn't work for me. Like, I'm not gonna not use AI because it's stealing from people, because I am constantly stealing from people as an American. Right? And then, so then the question becomes like, what is writing? Writing to me is art, and art is about communication between humans, right? It used to be that carpenters were artists. Now, a lot of people get their furniture from IKEA.
Yeah.
And a lot of carpenters then were like, oh, this doesn't have like the human touch. You don't have like the live wood edges and all that stuff. I actually think, and this is going to be a kind of dystopian future, but I do work in big tech, so I think I see both sides.
You're helping create that.
No, I mean, it's a moral quandary. Every day I'm like, I put my dog back. But I need to help. I think what we're gonna see is in society, you have the ultra rich who can afford driftwood tables made by carpenters, and everybody else gets IKEA furniture. And what I don't want to see with art, which I believe writing, all sorts of writing, whether it's fan fiction or romance or literary, is I don't want to see it relegated to the wealthy people get like organic human written books, and everybody else either doesn't even know what they're consuming, or they don't. Right, and that's what I hate, which is why I don't use it for anything. But like totally with you, I think creatives are held to like this high, impossibly high moral standard of like knowing where your images come from, where your software comes from. Does this use regular AI or Gen AI or LLMs? And it's just like, we can't, right? We're just trying to tell stories. We are
literally the only profession, artists and writers are the only professionals, to my knowledge, in the world who have to pay to do our work. Everyone else gets paid. I have lost money on every book as an indie author, just putting it out there. So I don't really want to hear someone be judgmental about me not doing it to their standards.
Especially if you're marginalized, because then you have to hire sensitivity readers.
Exactly, right, there's a whole lot. And the fact that I'm writing heroines who look like me, biracial, heroines over 40.
Yeah.
Already oh, well, that's not the TikTok norm, so.
Yeah.
There's just a lot. It's a very intense, and we're putting, those of us who actually write the words instead of using AI, we're putting our hearts and souls into this work, dedicating, months or years to create a book for you.
Also, there's a lot of pressure on us. So why I said I wouldn't even knock my friends for doing the blurb thing. I haven't been blurring books lately because I'm just like, I have no time to read. I'm sorry. But I mean, I've been listening to audio, if you can give me audio art, cool. But is that there's so much pressure on us constantly. So it's like a moral dilemma. I understand why my friends use it, because in 5 seconds, you can whip up a good blurb versus them stressing about a blurb
For 2 hours, which is what happens to me.
or not just 2 hours, like some of them are sitting there for a week and they're just like, I cannot do this, like it's terrible. And where you could just put in like 3 words and it just does it, and it's like a lot, like so much work falls on us, so much. Like we have to blurb other people, like a lot of that's free, right? Like we're blurbing other people's books, we're going to events, we're doing this, we're doing that, and like a lot of it is free and we love it, right? It's like part of our thing. But like you said, we don't get paid for this stuff, right? For a lot of this stuff. So, and our time is money for us because we could be writing another book and making money, right? So like, I do understand it. So yeah, maybe these answers are not exactly what anyone was expecting, right? It's like, like everyone wants to be like, oh, shame AI, but I think the only thing I feel like is like, wow, like having your whole book written by AI is kind of like, ooh. But other than that, like I'm like the little things, like how could we, I don't know, how could we shame others if you're not, especially if you're not in that situation and you don't like feel that pressure of like writing, marketing, like being on social media, like yuck, like I don't know, like some people love it and some people hate it, and like there's so much, and then we have to like connect with other people, like we're constantly going and going and going. So to save yourself a little bit of time, I don't know. Oh yeah.
So it's 5:02, so are there people have questions? Oh, yeah, you have one too back there, or, okay, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Just very specific, the article that you were just writing,
Oh, yeah.
where will that be published?
That will be in Writer's Digest. Yeah, in the September, October issue. Yeah, thank you. Oh, and I did want to mention, we were talking about this. Yeah, so I took all of my books off of Amazon this year. As a statement, and it's not part of a larger movement. I'd love it if people followed, but also traditionally published authors don't have a choice about where their books are sold, but as an indie I do. So if you are interested in my books, you can get them on my website, you can get them here. I would suggest if you want a hard copy, you get it today, because it dawned on me driving up here that, oh wow, tariffs are coming, and if I don't raise the prices on my books, I will lose books. I lose money even on the books that sell. So that's not good. So they are lower priced now than they will be tomorrow. No joke. So yeah, so do that. My recommendation, or buy the ebooks, and you can get those again through my website, through Barnes and Noble, through bookshop.org. If you buy them through my website, through my store, you will pay less than you'll pay anywhere else, and I will get more profit.
All right, so I have a couple lightning round questions. We'll do a little bit quick, all right? What romance author or particular romance author influenced your work the most? And Jane Austen cannot be said.
We have Kennedy Ryan. I love her so much. Like I don't know that, I just love her so much. I love that it's like worldly and like the world building's so like unique and like it's so complex.
Olivia Dade and Julie Martin.
For me, it's two. It's Lyssa K. Adams and Sarah McLean.
T.J. Alexander, and I'm gonna say a straight white dude, Nicholas Sparks.
Doesn't even write romance.
No. Right. Yes, because romances have a happily ever after.
See, I didn't know that.
So let me know if he does not write romance. But okay, last one. Last book you read that you'd recommend to the audience, since word of mouth is how you keep little. We'll start with Risk.
No, she said she's late.
Sorry, it wasn't romance, I'm sorry.
It doesn't have to be romance.
Lone Women by Victor Laval,
Yes.
a monster story set in 1920s Montana about a Black woman carrying a mysterious suitcase.
His books are so good.
Lone Woman.
Yeah. So I'm in the middle of the favorites by Lane Fargo, but it already has me by the throat, so I suspect it will play out well. And then I really love Carissa Broadbent's Serpents and the Wings of Night.
Oh yeah, I love that. The Hurricane Wars. Yeah, the Hurricane Wars is I love it. I'm like 90% through right now, and it's
I just finished a tropical, what is it? A tropical rebel gets the dew.
Adriana, right?
Yeah, so great. Yeah.
And great covers too. I
Yes,
love her.
I love her covers. It inspired the cover for my book. Yeah.
Love her.
I will throw in Julie Chan is dead.
Nice.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.